Hello, you're listening to ReedyGeeks, a Walt Disney World podcast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined today by the banana Foster eater, Sean.
I don't even remember the context to this.
You like a banana Foster?
I don't think I do.
Not the banana pudding.
Oh, you mean the bread pudding? The Banana Foster's bread pudding at Ohio?
Yes, banana Foster bread pudding. It's New Orleans.
Bananas
cuisine.
Foster is a New Orleans specialty, like Commander's Palace, Emerald.
I'm getting other things in New Orleans.
And our vegetable for show, JJ.
Vegetable for show.
Jesus Christ.
Are these deep tracks?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Is that just like just
a vegetable?
I want a vegetable on the side just to say that I had one?
Yes.
Or that he is a
When
vegetable?
did I say this on air?
This is with our TFP podcast buddies.
Oh.
We were talking about Ohana. Both of these comments are from
Oh,
Ohana.
the vegetables are just for show. Yeah.
The vegetables are just for show.
If this is your first time listening, this is usually only a little bit better, but it's usually better.
It's not.
Well, please, if you have title suggestions, please write in to ReedyGeeks@gmail.com.
The bar's clearly at the floor.
In today's episode, we continue our Spotlight series on Imagineers. Today, I will be exploring the career of Tim Delaney at Disney Imagineering. Here on ReedyGeeks, we love celebrating the creative minds behind the magic, which is why we started our reoccurring series, Imagineer Spotlights, where we dive into the stories of people who make Walt Disney World truly unforgettable. For those who might not be familiar, Imagineers are the designers, the engineers, the artists, the writers, the visionaries who bring Disney's ideas to life, combining storytelling with technology, architecture, and innovation to create the experiences guests know and love. In the world of theme parks, these really are the rock stars who make it all happen. Or maybe that line says more about us geeks, but I digress. In our previous edition of this series, JJ covered the career of Kevin Rafferty. Today, we're highlighting Tim Delaney, a longtime Imagineer whose career spanned decades and whose influence can be seen throughout the parks. He's known for his leadership, creativity, and ability to turn bold concepts into immersive experiences. Tim's work is a perfect example of the vision, skill, and dedication that goes into making Disney's magic a reality. Okay, so Tim Delaney.
Yeah.
I was really excited to pick Tim Delaney because, listen, there are so many Imagineers who we could talk about. That's why this series is great. We can keep on bringing it back and back and back.
But we could do Imagineer year.
Yeah. But we had the opportunity to see Tim Delaney.
Right. Yeah. At the Retro Magic back in September. That was in September of 2025.
Yeah. And he told some great stories. I just thought he was very interesting and someone who I had kind of overlooked. As far as the famous Imagineers go, I think Tim Delaney is not quite as well known.
Yeah. He seems to fly under the radar a little bit, like as opposed to, you talked about rock stars and someone like Tony Baxter, someone like Mark Davis. These are names that you hear over and over and over again.
Right. But Tim has a pretty long career and storied career. So let's get right into that. Just as a quick overview, he spent 34 years at Walt Disney Imagineering. He rose from creative designer and director to vice president of creative and executive designer. So he definitely did go, and we're going to see, from the bottom of Imagineering all the way up to the top. But where did he come from? So Tim was a child of the 50s. He fell in love with space, watching the Disneyland TV episodes. That's the episodes that showcased Disneyland before it was open. He especially loved the Tomorrowland and the Man in Space segments. And this really convinced him that audiences could believe that something actually happened just from the visual nature of it. And this really became the core of his creative philosophy. He ended up studying at Art Center College of Design and developing the skills of turning abstract ideas into concrete and visualized concepts. So right out of college, he gets noticed by WED, Walter Elias Disney Enterprises. That's the precursor to WDI, Walt Disney Imagineering. And he gets hired as a graphics department. He gets hired into the graphics department to work on corporate signage and park posters. So this is really like, I don't want to say the grunt work of WDI or at this point WED Enterprises, but it's not like he's developing things, right? He's not developing lands or attractions at this point. You know, corporate signage, that would be like that enterprise right underneath the sign of the attraction, or the park posters when you go into Magic Kingdom or into Disneyland, and underneath the train station you have the poster of different attractions in there.
Yeah, like it's almost like coming attractions from a movie where you're walking through those tunnels.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Well, corporate sponsors, as we know, is more, as important to Disney as the rides themselves. So
They're as
That is
important to
true.
the ReedyGeeks Media LLC group as well. Remember promo code ReedyGeeks.
we love those sponsors.
Well, his first project came along fairly quickly, and he designed Starcade at Disneyland. And this was an arcade that was part of the Space Mountain complex in Tomorrowland. It was, I believe, it's underneath Space Mountain. JJ, you know that a little better, right?
Yeah, so Space Mountain in Disneyland, you actually have to go, like, you almost have to go upstairs. It's to walk in. You don't walk in and then walk up all these platforms. You actually walk. You're like, the ride is just on the second floor.
Right. Yeah, and there's more in that complex than just this arcade or Space Mountain. There's a theater as well.
Yeah, and there's like that tunnel that led to where the People Mover was. A couple different nooks. The show theater that I think way back in the day, that must have been where Carousel of Progress was, like way back before the 70s.
Yeah, and this is just like an updated version of that. But hold on to this thought here about this Space Mountain complex, because this is going to come around again later in his career, but possibly not at Disneyland.
Ooh.
Yes.
Foreshadowing.
A little foreshadowing there. Yeah.
I know literary devices.
So at WED Enterprises, one thing that Tim had said was that they're very structured, right? Everyone took breaks at the same time, lunch at the same time, and so he would always use his breaks of exploring the building at WED and building relationships with other Disney Imagineers like Herb Ryman or Marty Sklar, Claude Coates, Ward Kimball. These are really the Disney legends that had been there for.
I was gonna say these are big hitters.
These are huge hitters. Yeah.
Those are the rock stars.
Right. And he really built a not quite a reputation yet, but at least he networked, right? So when he was unfortunately let go, kind of like an excess, he was able to take his work, go straight up to the folks that were designing EPCOT at the time and say, hey, listen, I think I could really help you here. And enough people knew him around that they were like, yeah, okay, all right, we'll bring you back. And so they bring him back even after he was accessed about like a week later and transferred him to concept design, working on EPCOT. And he was in the office next to Herb Ryman. So
wow.
Yeah. So he works there for several years. I think it was maybe 6. I don't want to say 7, but maybe 6 or 7 years. Yeah. That's going to be a line that ages well throughout the years here on ReedyGeeks.
I'm sure by the time this episode comes out that will still be relevant.
And so actually I felt like this is a good place to take a little pause and just talk about Imagineering in general, and I had some thoughts on the generations of Imagineers, because he's with someone like Claude Coates, right? So I'm thinking there is Bob Gurr's there too, but then we mentioned Marty Sklar, and these are kind of like different level of Imagineers from different generations. Like I feel like we have the original ones, your Rolly Crump, right? Mark Davis, Claude Coates. These are the Imagineers that worked directly with Walt, built Disneyland
Animators first.
the animators, right? The animators. But then in the late 60s through maybe like the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, you have like this transitional Imagineers. So you have John Hench, Marty Sklar, Tony Baxter is starting his job here as well. And one thing Tim said is like these were the guys that were always thinking like, what would Walt do next, right? And Tim comes during a time in the 70s into the early 80s, where there is now this transition from what would Walt do next to we need to have our own style and we need to do things differently. And I think he is able to, we're going to see as we go along through the story, that he's really able to bridge those two gaps between the generation of what would Walt do to the generation where we're going to know in like the late 80s and early 90s that are very IP based, big projects. You're building big lands, big theme parks. We're doing Disneyland Tokyo, but we're also doing EPCOT. We're doing Disneyland Paris, like big time projects rather than just recreating the same Disneyland that Walt had made. He is going to work on, Tim Delaney, he is going to work on some really mega projects and work with other visionaries in this way. Kevin Rafferty, I think, would belong here as well.
Right, just from the time frame, right? Because, he's another guy that was a late 70s hire. That's when he switched from, working at Club 33 as a chef and then switched over to Imagineering because he got his degree, like crazy. But yeah, like Epcot opened the door for a lot of people that were just like, let's do cool things. And I think Rafferty is one of those guys. Mm-hmm. He wasn't concerned with, what would Walt think of this and what will Walt do with this? He was just a guy that was like, let's make this, maybe it was just a confidence of knowing Walt would want what's cool and fun and like still was for the whole family at the same time.
Right. Yeah, but that's taking a big leap in giving up that idea of what would Walt do. Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at who was in charge, right, when you're talking about who built, Magic Kingdom was built completely like that. Mm-hmm. But if you look at who built Magic Kingdom, it was his brother. He was admittedly not a creative guy. He was Walt's business guy. Yeah. So he had to wear a hat that he'd never worn before. And his solution to that was, well, let me try to put myself in my brother's shoes. What would he think of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then in the 70s, like they're not really doing anything else with castle theme parks, right?
Right. And it's all transitional too. We're transitioning. We're trying to get to Epcot, and Epcot is another. It's Walt's baby, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it makes perfect sense that transition period from Walt dying until, I don't know, 82, like after Epcot opens, is just pure, what would Walt think?
Right. But then when you get to Epcot, you have these young guns, right? You have these young Imagineers, and then you're going to have Michael Eisner come in, and it's really going to shake up WED Enterprises. So let's start with his early Epcot planning. So when Tim first got put onto the Epcot project, he contributed by making designs and concepts, mostly point of view concepts, thematic ideas for multiple pavilions. He says he has just hundreds and hundreds of sketches of things that came to fruition, things that did not, right? But he's just working all day long, creating sketches for what they believe Epcot should look like. And just to reiterate, one thing that we're going to see along his career too is that he keeps on coming back to Tomorrowland. So in Epcot, he's really focused on Future World. They're using him for Future World, not really World Showcase.
Okay.
He comes up with this idea for a space pavilion, and although we end up getting a space pavilion years and years later, Space Pavilion was not part of the original Epcot, but he comes up with a idea for it, a concept where they would have a vertical circle vision. So think of circle vision in the Canadian Pavilion or in China, right? That's your traditional horizontal circle vision. The screen is in front of you and it's all around you.
So the screen is going to be above and below you.
Yes, not fully below you.
Which I guess I wish that, I can kind of see that being like a planetarium kind of vibe. Like you're getting launched into space. But how do you sit like a planetarium, like around in a circle? How does that even work?
Well, they had the only time they tested it, not that they built an entire a vertical circle vision theater for it, but they put a projector of a starry night on the ceiling and had everyone laying down on those handrails. And those like leaning handrails are super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't they just? Okay.
Yeah, like
that's one way to do it.
I would have like just put down blankets or something and just everyone just lay on the floor. Like that might be more realistic to what you might be doing. I don't know. What's funny to me is the idea of Ron Miller at the time, CEO of the Walt Disney Corporation, is laying on a handrail,
trying to lay on a handrail.
Half the people loved it and thought, oh, this is so going to work. Half the people did not like it. And so the concept got shelved. The idea was that there was really just too much technical limitations at the time and that it wasn't really going to be something they could do, especially as Epcot starts going over budget on a lot of these pavilions. It gets shelved for later and then, not even really created at all. But he has moved from the idea of space, which he loves again, right? It's
Wait, so do you think that if this space circle vision and planetarium idea, if that had worked, do you think maybe we never would have gotten Mission Space?
I love it. Yes. Too bad.
I wish Tim spent a little more time researching how to make this work.
If they got rid of Horizons for Mission Space, they're definitely getting rid of a Circle Vision theater.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah. Yeah, and like
so in every timeline we get Mission Space.
Yeah, it's the TVA is going to keep making Mission Space happen.
Or I wonder, like, because Mission Space kind of is what he wanted to do, right? I imagine that in the Circle Vision, like the Circle Vision was just like a starry night and like shooting stars and things like that. But I imagine you would be blasting off, like you had said, JJ. And I mean, that's essentially what you're doing in Mission Space. So I think you're right. They would have been like, this is a boring Circle Vision. Let's put in this like accelerator that NASA uses. That would be super cool. Kids will love that.
This is Michael, never passing the Breck Eisner test.
Well, that's progress for you.
So in 1986, he's moved over to the Living Seas, and he has a new role now. It is project architect and creative director / show producer. So he is now really involved with creating the show of the Living Seas. This is the first major Epcot expansion under Eisner and Wells, really signaling a new era of ambitious development and trying to update Epcot just after a couple years of it opening.
Right. It needed a second phase, much like all these parks, right? A new park, they tend to open in phases. They don't tend to open how we envision them in our heads.
Right. Yeah, you really can't open a park as a full lived-in, thought-out, designed, and
Yeah, I mean,
executed theme
think
park.
something that's so quintessential to Magic Kingdom, right? Is Pirates, but Pirates doesn't open with the park
Right?
or Space
Or
Mountain,
Space Mountain.
Yeah,
Or Big Thunder.
right? Yeah, it.
Or Tron.
Did you know that the newest ride in Magic Kingdom didn't open with the park? That's our clickbait article for this episode.
That would be so funny. So what were some key contributions to his the Living Seas Pavilion? I don't remember these, but the hydrolators.
I do, and they were really cool. Yeah. I thought it went down a little more than what they said it did. I thought it was an elevator that went down like 5 or 6 feet, but apparently it doesn't go down like at all.
It just like vibrates and like simulates you going down.
Yes, the floor vibrated and all these bubbles would shoot up. You were like in a tube and bubbles were shooting up around you, and it felt like you were diving down into the floor of the ocean, and then the door would open on the other side, and you'd end up being able to hop in the little Omni mover.
Yeah, and JJ, do you remember a story from Retro Magic that he told?
Oh yeah. There's a really good story. I think we told it on the pod though.
We could tell it again.
We'll tell it again. Okay. So the hydrolator is in existence, and people are using it, and it's kind of jarring when you haven't experienced something like that. One family went into the hydrolator. The kids start screaming. The mom starts screaming. They sued Disney for like taking this kid into this like unsafe situation, like all these like levels of pressure below the ocean or whatever, and like a real big formal lawsuit. And then Disney attorneys had to inform them that they had traveled less than an inch.
Yeah. In an interview that I heard with Tim in doing research for this, he explains that this is one of the best days of his like career, because like he says that's the best thing you want as an Imagineer, is that someone had that big of a physical feel from a vision, right? So a visionary, a trick.
Trick.
Yeah.
They pulled the trick off perfectly. It's like like a magician.
Yeah, because one of the major themes about Tim Delaney's career is that he's not creating these new inventions, or he's not a mechanical engineer, right? He's not an engineer at all by trade. He's creating the visual tricks, the visual concepts, right? And the storytelling through visual aspects of these lands or pavilions or things like that.
That's Disney now, though. Like, that's so, like, when you talk about, when JJ just said, like, the trick, they pulled off the trick, that's almost every ride experience. Like, there's always some kind of, pulling the shade over you a little bit, whether it's, how they do Rise of the Resistance, how they do, was it Pepper's Ghost?
Yeah, Pepper's Ghost.
How they kind of simulate the room moving in Haunted Mansion, things we've spoken about on the podcast. Even like when you take the Keys to the Kingdom tour, they give you the little tidbit about how, why do you drop first in Pirates of the Caribbean so quickly? It's so you can go under the road into the main show building. So yeah, there's little tricks and sneaky things that you're not going to pick up on is just how that's their bread and butter.
Yeah. Well, so he continued to work on Living Seas. He oversaw the architecture plans for the 6 million gallon tank at the Living Seas with, and JJ, what's the statistic on that? Is that the second?
It is the second largest aquarium in America, second only to Atlanta's.
Yeah.
But I believe that when it was created, it was the biggest.
It was the largest, yeah. And my favorite fact about it is you can fit the entire, all of Spaceship Earth, the entire sphere can fit in the aquarium.
In the aquarium.
Wow.
That's how big it. And like when you're just walking around, I'm picturing it. I don't remember what it looked like back around the time we're talking about it. I just know now when you get off the Nemo ride and you go through the moving sidewalk and you go into that big circular room and you see the dolphins and all the fish and everything and the divers, it doesn't look like it's that massive of a tank, but it really is.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of stuff you don't see.
But what's interesting about that too is that you're looking into the tank, but you don't see the end of the tank. Like, to me, I always feel like it is just an expansive, like, ocean, like almost like you're looking into the ocean.
What do they use? Certain kinds of paint and reflections to kind of make you not see. You can't see the wall. You can't see the vent. You can't see what's only probably 50, 60 yards in front of you, but it looks like you're just looking out into the wide open ocean.
Yeah, and just like you said, they do that through different paint they use, different lighting, coral designs, things like that to really hide the boundaries of the tank. So it makes it feel like it's an endless ocean. Yeah. They also had a lot more planned for the Living Seas. This is also something that came up in Retro Magic, that Tony Baxter was also on this project and had created this really expansive thing of what the Living Seas was supposed to be. But there was supposed to be a log flume ride outside of it that would have great views of the tanks. I don't know, maybe go through the tank or something like that, or alongside it.
Yeah, the Living Seas ride as we know it is plan D for them. They had much crazier other stuff that was supposed to be happening. Stuff that, quite frankly, would probably not have been replaced by Nemo.
And there was supposed to be another Hydrolator when you're leaving. Right,
to get you back up.
And that's something that all gets cut because of how over budget this was going and how over budget EPCOT went in general. Although they did convince a corporate sponsor who wanted the space pavilion, they convinced them that they should go with the with the Living Seas instead, and they ended up paying and agreed to pay double than what the corporate rate was. That's how expensive the Living Seas was. Wow, which is incredible. I know, and I always wonder too, like how much is the upkeep on that versus the return that they're getting.
Well, I think there's a reason why they do the scuba diving experience there. That's very pricey.
Yeah, and I was going to say, not only do they do it frequently, it's very expensive.
Yeah. You wouldn't be staffing that if it wasn't something that's like helping keep the lights on over there.
Right.
How? That's proprietary.
Well, his foray into the Living Seas was successful, and so he volunteered to work on WDI's next project, which was Disneyland Paris.
Ooh.
So originally called Euro Disneyland, right?
Yeah, Euro Disney.
He was the show producer for Discoveryland. So,
whoa.
Yeah, Discoveryland, for those who may not know, is the Tomorrowland replacement in Disneyland Paris. So they don't have a Tomorrowland, they have a Discoveryland, which makes sense because always the biggest problem with Tomorrowland was that once it's built, it becomes Yesterland, right? Like it's already outdated. And I actually took that joke from Tim Delaney in an interview. It's almost quote for quote what he said. So. So he preferred this idea of Discoveryland that would reimagine what Tomorrowland is and would focus on European futurists like Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, and Leonardo da Vinci too. Oh. So you have all of those styles of what the future is supposed to be like in the same land.
Oh, that's so cool.
Right? And they all kind of like blend in together.
Yeah, I mean, I
preferred DiCaprio.
I knew the Jules Verne and H.G. Wells thing, but but Da Vinci is so interesting. I guess Da Vinci was someone that would like come up with ideas and sketch them out for like weird futuristic things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like early helicopters and stuff.
Exactly. And I actually think that Da Vinci inspired them, H.G. Wells and it's mostly focused on Jules Verne. I think Jules Verne is the primary.
Yes, he's the center of it all. And then so is the Timekeeper then, right? Do you guys remember
Well,
that, the timekeeper?
Yes, not called a timekeeper in
Euro Disney, but
in
he's there. It's
Disneyland.
there, right? Isn't it?
It is.
They do a French version of that.
Yeah, so let's go straight to that.
Oh, cool.
They call it the Visionarium. The Visionarium. That's an updated version of Circle Vision. So Circle Visions, especially in the past, have always been like travel based. Really, you're just flying over Canada, right? And it's come see Canada. Look how beautiful Canada is, right? Same thing with Impressions de France and the China Pavilion, Circle Vision. It's really just a travel log.
Right. It's a postcard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he wanted to do something different, and they made it a time traveling experience, right? A story like this. In the American version, we have Robin Williams, who is the timekeeper, and they had him kind of try out, for the French version. The French version came first, and then the American version was after. But the French did not like Robin Williams. They said his French wasn't good enough. And that kind of actually shows you like some of the issues that Disneyland Paris, Euro Disneyland had, in general, was that they always had to worry about not only do we need the script to work in English, but we need the script to work in French too. And we need to get someone that could do both, right?
Yeah.
He also probably wasn't taking it very seriously.
No.
Well,
no.
there is a crazy story about Robin Williams. Not to hijack your thing here,
Okay.
but that was in the middle of Robin Williams being really mad that what they did with him with the genie and
With
Aladdin.
the genie.
So they
Yeah, right.
they only had like one take of him at like a table read, and was basically like, you can use what you have if you they recorded a table read. And that
Right.
was what was on the ride for Timekeeper, the English version.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it was good.
So it was
I remember it was funny.
Yes, I remember it being funny, but I was also a kid and like fully Robin Williams pilled. Like,
Right.
I mean, when you're 6 and you find out that the genie is going to be a time traveler the next time you go to Disney World, you're like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And it was 20 minutes long. It's crazy. And that was like just one take.
Wow.
He's insane. Insane. I can't believe that just a table read would be good enough to just put on a ride.
Insane and insanely talented.
That's what I mean. Insanely talented. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's just proof of how incredible he was.
Yeah. Something interesting I thought was interesting, and another example of the culture difference between like France and America. In France, they had a little bit of a problem with the pre-show. The pre-show was done so well with special effects and great visuals that a significant amount of people thought that was the actual attraction. So when the pre-show was over, they just left. They just walked out.
Well, the pre-show was like kind of, I don't want to say the better part, but it was tighter, right? Because that was with introducing the Spider Vision whole thing. I don't forget her name. Because like why you saw the lines in the Circle Visions, they like explained that with like you're seeing what this Spider Woman sees or whatever, Spider Robot. It was like it was like a spider looking robot, and she had like 9 eyes. So every situation, every time we time traveled, you were seeing what she saw.
Yeah, no, and they have to explain that. They have to tell the story behind that in order to understand when you go and see the timekeeper. It's interesting. I also wonder who did their timekeeper, and it clearly could not have been as good as Robin Williams. Maybe the pre-show was just better. So some other things he did in Discoveryland, the Orbitron, right? That's the designed as the icon of Discoveryland. The Nautilus submarine walkthrough, really bringing it back to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Again, very, very Jules Verne as well. Discoveryland ended up being very successful in Disneyland Paris and Euro Disneyland, and especially compared to the track record of other Tomorrowlands, right? The idea of having Discoveryland proved to be the better concept of something that's really grounded and anchored with one time frame and one theme and one aesthetic, even though they're taking from a lot of different viewpoints of what that aesthetic is. Like it worked, right? And it would last longer than your traditional Tomorrowland.
Yeah, because it establishes a place and time and coherent theme. The whole abstract that something could be the future, once you see it, it's no longer the future. You know, it becomes yesterday, just like our friend Tim said.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the same couldn't be said for Euro Disney. Euro Disney was struggling significantly when it first opened. Tim, in his interview, blames the amount spent on the hotels and thinks that the park itself was doing very well and wasn't overspent. I mean, obviously, that might come with some bias as the guy who was a show producer in the park. But, you know.
Well, my question to that is, when you're building Disneyland Paris, or at the time Euro Disney, how much of your audience is there? Like, making resorts to get people over from America almost feels like the most important thing to make sure you have right away, comfortable, luxurious, nice resorts, just to get people to want to come there. Because the people that are coming from local, most of them probably will be day visitors or short-term visitors. It almost makes sense that they would place a premier focus on resorts and accommodations.
Well, the resort thing worked so well in Tokyo and in Orlando, they just assume that it's also going to work in Paris.
And I don't think at this time period they're really looking for the average family to come from America to Paris. There's not as many people coming from Europe to go to Disney World at that point either. Euro Disney, and one of the reasons why it was called Euro Disney was because Europe in itself was becoming more centralized, more inclusive and connected than ever before, right? And I think that they were planning their audience to be from people from England, people from Germany, people from Italy, you know, really thinking that people from all over Europe would be going to Euro Disney.
Right.
And it's not that it wasn't, it's just that, you know, Paris is so darn close, you know.
Right.
Am I going to spend so much money staying at a hotel right next to the park that I'm going to go to for one day?
Paris.
Or I can stay in Paris. Yeah, for probably a lot cheaper. And the transportation was really convenient to get from Paris to Euro Disney. So
yeah, it's like an hour train. You just hop on the train, you're in there. I'd imagine that families did it as like, we're going to go to Paris for a long weekend and we'll go to Euro Disney one day and then we'll take the train back to our hotel because you only stay at the one hotel, and then you'll do a day or two in Paris and then you'll, you know, hop on your little flight back to Germany or whatever.
Yeah. Well, Euro Disney is in a bit of trouble. They need to restructure some of their debt. There's fears that Disney will back out and will end up selling off the whole thing. So one of the ideas they say is that, listen, we need another major e-ticket attraction. For anyone who doesn't know, an e-ticket attraction is an old term that just means like a big attraction that's going to attract a lot of people. It's your biggest attractions in the park. So they need an e-ticket attraction. They need to add capacity. And they know that from the start, the idea was to put in there a Space Mountain. The original idea was to have a 100-meter in diameter Space Mountain. That would be very similar to the Space Mountain complex in Disneyland. See, we're going back to that Disneyland Space Mountain complex here. This was the original idea, and they would put things below it, underneath the roller coaster. You could walk through and see the roller coaster going on above you. The Nautilus was supposed to be in there. Supposed to be, it's supposed to be a dining in there. I believe an arcade as well, or just some type of interactive gaming area. So this is supposed to be like a big, complex here. And they realize, listen, we just need to get something in there. We don't have the money to do that. He's given, I think he's given about like $90 million to build a Space Mountain.
Wow, $90 million is pretty good though.
Yeah, That's what I thought too.
What year was this? 95?
Yes, 95.
Yeah, it's almost $200 million.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, we're not talking Rise, right? But
yeah, but I mean, we're talking about it has the purchasing power of $191 million. That's certainly enough.
Yeah.
You couldn't do a Rise of the Resistance or a new type of ride vehicle, but you could build just about any roller coaster you want and theme it really well if it's technology that already exists.
Well, and that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up because Tim, who is planning this now, he is the show director here. He's still the show director, and again, he's not the engineer, right? The lead engineer on it, but he is the project manager here. He comes up with the idea of one thing he hated about Space Mountain is that it's a slow chain, a pull chain up to the top, meaning a chain pulls the cars. A lift hill, sorry, a slow lift hill.
Yeah, it's a traditional, it's very traditional roller coaster lift hill. It's a big chain, and the roller coaster hooks onto it, and then it basically gets a ride up to the top.
Right.
And then gravity takes over.
And to him, he says, well, that doesn't make any sense. We're going into space.
It's a rocket.
Right. You're on a rocket ship, right? So he doesn't create it, but he comes up with the idea and advocates for it immensely, a catapult launch system. And this is introduced as the world's first full circuit catapult launch coaster, especially for Disney, but I think for the world. This is meaning that it would launch you and you would go through the entire roller coaster circuit. You wouldn't just go back to where you began in reverse, right? So, JJ, actually, you have more expertise on what a non-full circuit.
Yeah, so a roller coaster could be what's called the shuttle roller coaster, which would be something where you would launch, you would go forward, and then you'd experience something, and then you'd go like up a hill and then roll backwards and then return back in reverse. It's really common if you played Roller Coaster Tycoon, the inverted shuttle coaster, where it was just like one, just a little section of a launch and then a loop, and then you would come backwards and do the same thing. A company called Schwarzkopf was doing that in the 80s. And Montezuma's Revenge at Knott's Berry Farm is probably the most famous example of this type of launch roller coaster. And I believe it's a similar mechanism that does the launching of the Space Mountain one, but it's all within the same track. So it just keeps going forward, and then it eventually hits the station again.
Yeah. Yeah. So this launch though it was inclined, which is nice. It feels like you're launching into space.
Yeah.
Going up. It had inversions, which is new for Disney. Disney hadn't had any inversions prior to this. And it has synchronized onboard audio track.
Ooh.
So that you're listening to, this is from Tom Morris, who developed this system. He's another engineer that I guarantee we're going to talk about sometime in the future. But this is where you have music in your headsets, or in your on the actual vehicle. There's audio on the vehicle. So prior to this, there would just be speakers in the building somewhere pumping music or sounds at you. Now you have them right there with you, and it's synchronized to where you are on the ride. So
yeah, which is an innovative. I mean, I can't even imagine. They almost don't ever do a roller coaster that doesn't have onboard audio now.
Yeah, now it all has it.
It all has it.
It's all, whether it's like, I think of like, Velocicoaster with the sounds of the Raptors and that come out of the headsets, or even just like the Rock and Roller Coaster. You got the Aerosmith that's playing in your seat.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Disney loves doing the onboard audio.
And even not just for roller coasters, it feels like every ride nowadays, so they can it can feel like your experience is your own experience, because the people that are in the car behind you are hearing something, are not hearing what you're hearing yet. You're
slightly off.
You're not just catching it at the right time as your boat's going by. You're hearing it when it's meant to be heard.
Yep. for other reasons too, the Space Mountain was very successful. It's twice as fast as all the previous Space Mountains. Like I said, it included 3 inversions. The onboard audio. It's themed after Jules Verne's From the Earth to the Moon, and the aesthetic of it, I think. Now that has become like a huge icon for Discoveryland, similar to how Space Mountain is an icon for all the Tomorrowlands that they're in. And it's funny too, he was given this really cheap prefabricated roof that he had to use. He was being forced to use it because of his budget. So he had to really plus it up with adding like the gold trimmings onto it and making it look like it's Victorian, turn of the century, Jules Verne-esque,
Oh.
But all of this, he was able to get it under his budget. He had to always be fighting for adding all these things, because at every turn he was being told that, hey, you're not going to make budget. You're not going to make budget. He's like, nope, we're going to do it. He ended up getting in under budget, $600,000 under budget.
That's a nice little bonus for Timmy.
Yeah.
You have a surplus.
There's this cool story where a bunch of bankers, 125 bankers.
It's not a cool story at all. 125 bankers.
Every good story starts with 125 bankers.
Oh, that's bakers. But no, I'm just kidding. It's bankers. It's so a bunch of bankers go to Euro Disney, and they're these are the people that are going to be refinancing Disney's debt in the park, and they're excited to see what this new attraction is going to be, because really they must be thinking like this new attraction might be whether this is going to be a successful project or unsuccessful project. So they're all given the opportunity to go on the ride. And so Tim tells a story of how he's there with them, and the bankers all have their suitcases and are all in their suits and everything like that. And they leave their suitcases at the loading area before they climb into the shuttles. So you just see like lines of suitcases just float, just left everywhere. They go on it and they come back. Their hair's all like frizzled. They're smiling, they're laughing, and they're having a great time. And it really brought the mood down. From tense anxiety to, hey, this is a great ride. This is gonna do really well, and it does do really well. It contributes to a 2 million guest attendance increase.
Wow.
Which, yeah, one ride is credited with doing that.
Wow, that's like how many people went to Six Flags Great Adventure this year.
It's insane. Yeah. Yeah. And so Tim becomes a guy who can oversee projects. He is known now as the guy who has the vision and who can bring in that vision under budget, which is really key during this part.
How much do you think Disney worries about budget nowadays with stuff like that?
Immensely.
You think so?
I think this is the beginning of them really caring about the budget, because whenever they went over budget in the past, Walt was either like, screw it, we're going over budget, or they would just bring in a sponsor and they would pay the balance that was due.
But in the 90s, they have because of Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, they really start to care about budget a lot.
Oh, so you mean this as in
this is the beginning of them really caring, because this is like the phase 2 of Disneyland Paris. Right. This Discoveryland, like Euro Disney opens in 92. This is 95. So like we're trying to get the park right now that it's been open for a year or two. But now we have this extra challenge of we really got to care about the budget of this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you think like with something like I just think of like Villains Land and Piston Peak. It's like they want it to be the best things they've ever done, but at the same time, it's like, well,
get estimates.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Get estimates. I think their budgets are going to be a lot bigger though, because now they can
the budgets are enormous, It's almost like you think that they would make a budget so large they know they're not going to go over it, but
I think that's part of
I was
what's
going to say, I
happening.
think they can build in Lightning Lane
Revenue. And they have statistics now about how much revenue Lightning Lane can generate because they've got 2 years of Guardians Lightning Lanes. And,
right. They can almost project to a dollar how much that's going to make them off the first 2 years.
Right. They go, okay, well, if we're putting a ride in here and we expect it to have the same impact as Rise of the Resistance, this is what Rise of the Resistance brings in every year just in Lightning Lanes.
Yeah.
Not to mention you can measure how many more people are coming to Hollywood studios every day since Galaxy's Edge opened. You go, okay, we opened Galaxy's Edge. We saw X amount more people in the park. So you can, a ride with this impact is worth this much money.
Right.
And that's why those cannons are never getting fixed in Rise of the Resistance. They'll never take it offline.
They can't shut down the money machine of those Lightning Lanes to fix the cannons, even though apparently they can just fix them quick because Disneyland was able to fix theirs.
Yeah. I wonder how long that was down for. Maybe like a day or two.
Well, it's got to be a couple mil.
Boys, watch your manners.
Yeah, if you can't say something nice.
Boys.
So this wasn't his last project at Disney. He had some later projects where he was more of an executive rather than a guy who's drawing hundreds and hundreds of point of view visions and concepts and sketches of a park. He's not doing that anymore. He's just now the overseer. He oversees the design of the entrance plaza into Disney's California Adventure, as well as Paradise Pier.
R.I.P.
Yes, he shaped Paradise Pier into a nostalgic early 20th century California seaside amusement park, which was pretty nice.
And it's still basically there. They just slap Pixar logos on a lot of that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And he designed the lighting effects on the sun wheel. I think that might be different now because now it's Mickey.
Well, it's not Mickey anymore. It's Pixar Pal Around.
It's Pixar.
Pixar Pal Around now. It used to be Mickey's Fun Wheel, a.k.a. Mickey's Death Wheel, if you went on the more fun side.
Yes.
Now that's a ride that will shock people. You look at it and it looks like nothing.
Yeah.
And then you get on it and you're like, oh, I'm about to fall out of this thing.
So fun.
I remember being on that alone because Emily wouldn't go on it. And I FaceTimed, or actually her brothers FaceTimed me at that point. And I was screaming on there. I dropped to the ground in the cabin. I dropped to the ground, and every time it moved, I just it was
the first time you do that.
Great ride.
If you don't grab onto the cage on the side with your like this is it.
Yeah. I was so happy when it was over.
Oh, that ride is so great. It really is. I so badly want them to put that crazy death wheel in one of these Disney World parks.
How about Boardwalk? How awesome would that be?
Oh,
I was gonna say,
the Boardwalk?
Put it either at Boardwalk or in Springs. Just have it be a separate attraction. Yeah.
Oh, and like one side is like calm, like you're just like riding the London Eye, and it's just a nice aerial view. And then the other side is a legit ride.
Wait a minute. I love that idea.
So some other things he did, he worked on Tomorrowland in Hong Kong Disneyland. He developed concepts for the unbuilt Pirates-themed area, including a flume-based Pirates of the Caribbean ride with a major drop. He basically mixed Splash Mountain and Pirates of the Caribbean together, and that was supposed
cool.
It was supposed to go into Hong Kong Disneyland. I would love to find concept art of this.
Oh yeah,
but this was an idea he came up with and he wanted to do, and the people in charge of it ended up going in a different direction, not wanting to do this. But I think that would have been great.
Is this in the post Captain Jack Sparrow era, or is this pre Pirates of the Caribbean movie?
No, I think this is post.
Okay, so this is like a Captain Jack Sparrow log flume kind of deal.
And then he produces some concept art for early Shanghai Disneyland ideas, including a varied Main Street alternatives. and new Space Mountain concepts. So, he kind of stays in his wheelhouse of Tomorrowland, right?
Yeah, it all comes back to that.
Yeah. He started loving to draw men in space and astronauts and things like that, and he ends with that as well.
Wow.
So he leaves WDI in 2009, and he starts his own designing company, Tim Delaney Design Incorporated, and he continues to apply Imagineering principles of story-first concepts, visual narratives, and architectural world building for clients all around the globe.
Wow. Yeah. You don't really typically hear about that these guys leave Imagineering and then kind of do their own thing. See, especially a guy that's worked for, he worked for the company for 34 years. You'd imagine
he's got a hell of a resume.
He does, and that's a very good question. Like, I would like to ask him if we had him at any point, like access to him. Like, so what was with the decision to leave WDI? Right? Is there a change in leadership around 2009? Did he realize that maybe he had gone up the ladder as far as he could, or I don't know. Like, I wonder why, because it seemed like he was doing great in an executive level, and WDI
seems like a job you don't leave.
Yeah.
Maybe there's just too much money in it to be a consultant. Like, you just drop a couple ideas, you say, oh, this is what I'm like, this is some stuff you should think about, and then you collect a fat check and you move on. Like,
yeah, a lot better work-life environment.
And
ratio.
You just pick up a project when you feel like working. Maybe you just you work on a project for 3 or 4 months, you take 2 months off, then you go do another one.
Yeah, right.
A work-life balance.
A much better work-life balance. That definitely could be it. But, so just to close out with Tim here, one of the main reasons why I picked him was because I love this storytelling without words, right? And just letting the architecture and the visual forms of the land communicate their narrative and its own story. And that was something he really mastered and he was very good at. So, Tim Delaney, very great Imagineer, great career in Disney.
Yeah, thanks. This was great. It's funny. I've literally heard him speak, and I learned a ton from hearing you speak about him.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun doing this research. Some of the interviews I listened to were on other podcasts, so I thought I'd maybe plug Defunctland. I don't know if Defunctland does his podcast anymore, but he's got a pretty good backlog of episodes.
And a pretty good YouTube channel.
Yes, yeah. And that YouTube channel is still going.
Yeah.
Every 6 months or so.
Yeah, he just drops a banger and then goes off and does his own thing.
My siestas are getting shorter and shorter.
So is our next Imagineer going to be by Sean?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I guess that would make sense, yeah.
Do you guys think we have time for a little game?
I think we could pass on the game today, especially since we recently just did a very long game with the newlyweds.
You guys just don't like having fun.
Next
We've
week.
had so much fun.
Okay, maybe next week.
So, Sean, you want to take us out?
Thanks for listening to another episode of the ReedyGeeks podcast. Like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Any questions, comments, concerns, future topics, or title ideas, email us at reedygeeks@gmail.com and check us out on all our socials at ReedyGeeks. We'll see you next time.
They're trying to entertain you. If you're not fully entertained, we'll get you on the next one.
This week's Honest Send-Off comes courtesy of Will from TFP. If you have an honest send-off that you want played at the end of one of our episodes, please submit an audio clip to us via our email address, reedygeeks@gmail.com. ReedyGeeks, a Walt Disney World podcast, is hosted and executive produced by Andrew Shopey, Sean Murphy, and JJ Hefner. Music and audio engineering by JJ Hefner.
Bon voyage.